The following is a Cheeky Leprechaun production.
Pop culture is the entirety of ideas.
Me, Mario.
Let the bass kick.
I am the greatest.
Holy eggshell!
I am your father.
Episode 35 this week. How is everyone out there? What are we up to? I've got that many people working from home that it's just outrageous. The banging and crashing. I don't think you'll hear any of it. I hope you don't. There's some tradies out in the street, which, you know, you walk out and you try and give them these eyeballs as to be like, you know, can you keep it down with the wood chipper and the, you know, chainsawing down of tree branches to clear from the side of the road. No one cares. You know, they're hanging above. They're not going to hit a car, I don't think. But, you know, they've chosen today, a recording day for the podcast, which is a sacred day for myself and those that listen. And, yeah, so if you hear some chainsawing, I apologise. Tradies didn't seem like the type of people that would appreciate me going up and saying, hey, I've got to record episode 35 of the Pop Culture Experience. Can you just keep it down a little bit? Anyway, I've got my friend Gigi on the show today. Gigi and I had a little chat over Zoom. Gigi lives just up the road, but still Zoom it had to be because we're in isolation still, of course. And yeah, it was a good chat. She gave me a movie recommendation, which we spoke about and thoroughly enjoyed, by the way. I will give a little off the bat insight, actually. The movie's Palm Springs with Andy Sambergs, and if you're wanting to watch it, that's cool. Listen to the first little bit, and then you'll start getting the vibe of, oh, we're gonna dive into spoilers a little bit. Yeah, so just skip forward, 2 minutes or so, and then if you skip forward, and then we're talking about something else, then you can jump back to 15-second intervals. Depending on, obviously, the podcast platform you're using. So, yeah, there's a little heads up for that. We talk a little bit about gaming, a bit of Twitch action this week, which is a bit of fun. Been contemplating a Twitch myself. It just seems expensive. It seems expensive for something I'll play, 2 or 3 times and then pack it up, put it away, and not really play it again. This is the person that bought a PS4 largely to watch Netflix on, so probably won't do that. Anyway, look, let's dive into the chat now with Gigi. Great chat. Appreciate her coming on the show, and yeah, let's go there now. Gigi, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you, Daniel?
I'm good. It's funny, you live about 2 streets away from me, but we still have to do this on Zoom. It's a little bit annoying.
I could have gone for a quick jog to your house and been there.
Well, at least you're in the comfort of your own home. You just told me you broke a mirror behind you, which is not ideal for our podcast. I'm waiting to see what goes wrong with this. So thanks for the bad luck straight off the bat. But I will say, first of all, did you watch Hamilton at all? Did you get around to it?
No, I'm not. I feel like I never get into is it a musical?
Oh, for God's sake. Yes, it's a musical, Gigi.
I'm sorry.
It's
you
about
talk about it with Dorset, but not with me.
It's about being cultured. I'm trying to culture a lot more people. So, I myself, obviously a very cultured individual with my musical performance. I've got a real varied interest in media. And so, yeah, do yourself a favor. Have you got Disney Plus?
I had it and then I never used it. I watched the Even Stevens movie and then I got rid of it.
What is Even Steven? Yes, I've never seen it.
You are the same age as my sister, and you didn't watch Even Stevens.
What is Even Stevens? I'm just going to pull it up now.
It had what's that guy's name? Shia LaBeouf. What's that guy's name?
Oh, so Even Stevens. Oh, is it a movie or is it a TV show?
It was like a Disney TV show, and then it got made into a movie. But it was so good. It was like brother and sister.
Okay. This looks way after my time.
What, does it say a start date?
Yeah, it was. Hang on, let me have a look here. It says 2003.
Yeah, so that should have been like your era.
Okay. Well, no, I was born. I guess I was 10. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 10. Okay, no, I'll pay that. I probably should have still been watching Even Stevens. Hey, I must say, though, thanks for the movie recommendation you gave me. I watched Palm Springs last night.
Yeah. New release. I enjoyed it. How did you enjoy it?
No, it was really good. I thought I had no idea about anything going in, to be honest. I knew Andy Samberg was in it, but beyond that, I didn't realize it actually had a pretty good cast. It had have you watched Riverdale at all?
I watched the first 2 seasons.
Okay, but Veronica, you know Veronica from Riverdale, she's obviously in this, and I'm a big Veronica fan for obvious reasons. She's very attractive, but she's also quite an actress. I think, yeah, she's got those strong eyebrows going on.
Yeah.
And then there's also her husband plays Superman in the CW. And then, did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah. That's this is the thing, Daniel. I'm so bad with character names and actor names. But I know that she was in How I Met Your Mother, the main girl.
Yeah, she was the mother. She was the mother in the end. So, you didn't realize?
I thought it would have just been it's been so long since I watched How I Met Your Mother. I thought it was just going to be one of the, girlfriends that he had in the past. You know how he goes through 5,000 fucking girlfriends?
Yeah. No. This was, spoilers, if you haven't watched it, it's 10 years old now, but...
Now I remember, you're getting my memory back.
Yeah, she was the mother, and she also died. It was really depressing, the whole thing. So anytime I've seen her since then, I'm like, oh... I always have a bit of sympathy. I don't know why. She's just an actress. Nothing happened to her. But when I saw her in this, I was like, oh, okay, it's the mum. I've got to be honest. After this, I didn't really like her in How I Met Your Mother. I'm a big fan of this actress now. I'm going to have to get her name up because it's just unacceptable to not. But I thought her and Andy Samberg together were really good.
Yeah. I think obviously there's Brooklyn Nine-Nine and everyone loves that. But I just want to as soon as I finished that, I just wanted to go and watch any movie that he was in. I feel like we were talking about this in our movie chat when I asked if anyone had seen Palm Springs. And everyone was Mitch was saying that it's one of those movies where they didn't try too hard with things, but they had the perfect amount of comedy and romance and just random crazy storyline plot. But I think he's just really good at doing that. And it's hard to find actors comedians nowadays that are like that.
Yeah, I think our friend Mitch, he made a good point in that her name is Kristen Milotti, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, assuming I'm reading it right. With Andy Samberg, sometimes you do get very loud. It gets very loud very quick, and it gets over the top. I mean, if you've seen Hot Rod, all that sort of thing, even SNL. But in this, I think he did a really good job of just towing that line between total craziness and just being an average guy that is stuck in this time loop. That's essentially the plot of the movie, is Andy Samberg's character stuck in a time loop, repeats the same day every day, and then another girl within that loop also gets stuck, and so they're in it together. I thought he was really good at towing that line.
Yeah. What did you think about the ending? I don't know if it's going to be a spoiler alert, but how did you think of the thing with all the physics and everything? It's kind of one of those plots that are just really hard. The writers would have been sitting down being how do we even fix this in the time of an hour and a half movie?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think when I was watching it, all I was thinking was, how are they going to work their way out of this to finish it? Because I was like, I want to see them get out. I think when you watch a movie like that, you do want to see the time loop end. So have you ever seen, and all I was thinking when this movie started, as I said, going in, not knowing what was going to happen, after the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh my God, this is Groundhog Day. Have you seen Groundhog Day? Have you seen it?
There's so many movies. Even I was in at uni, because I do media, and we had to, one of my units was film production, And my group literally based our thing off Groundhog Day. Like, it's such an easy thing that you can just like spin and make it interesting. But I've seen Groundhog.
Yeah, so even in that movie, I would always sit there and be like, oh, I want to see how he fixes this. You don't want to see them stuck there forever. And at one point in Palm Springs, I thought they were going to do that. I thought it was going to be those two just agree, you know what, life could be worse. Let's just stay in this loop forever and at least we're together. And when they started going that route, it felt like the indie film route to go. Like that Palm Springs feels like an indie film. True?
Yeah, I guess so.
And I feel like the independent film way to do it would be, you know, a little bit like it hits in the reality a little bit in terms of, you know, love wins and there's no real fantastical element to it to get them out. And there needed to be that. And that was her going and studying physics and learning how to it's a bit ridiculous.
At that diner, and she started like, I was like, how is this girl going to learn so much? Like, people spend years studying this stuff, and then I realized, oh, she literally has every day for the rest of her life to do it.
Yeah, that's what I thought was cool. It made sense that she was able to do it because they're there forever, and so she's got an infinite amount of time. What I wanted to talk about though was how they came out of the time loop. So again, if you're going to go watch this, maybe skip forward. But so when they come out of it, it's like, were they meant to be the age that they were once they entered the time loop? Is that the impression you got?
Yeah, because when they came out of it, it was the very next day. So you think that the amount of time that they spent in that time loop when they came out, they had to be however much older. So if they spent 40 years in the time loop, they had to be, you know, in their 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
Interesting, because I just thought like what the movie did, how they would just go back to the very next day, because they kept making references to like November 9th, November 10th. Like, that's the next day that we have to like find ourselves in.
Yeah. I think you're right in that that's what they did. So they were really hitting those dates. So you were very aware of when they come out and he says the date. Oh, okay, no time passed. I think I was just kind of like, I just expected time to pass because it would have made a little bit of sense. Like, there seemed to have been no stakes for them being in there. So it was just, they come out and, oh, well, that was a fun little trip. But had they come out and it was 20 years later, I don't know, there would have been something a little bit more to that where...
Would you have liked them to extend it a little bit and show that afterwards? Because I thought that they were going to do that. Like, their relationship after. I was like keen to watch it, and then it just ended.
What about when he says, I should probably go pick up my dog? I want to see him pick up the dog.
Yeah.
No, I think
like, the thing with the family coming home, it's like little things in movies like that I'm just like, oh, that's good.
Yeah. No, I really like the movie. I thought it was really good. I like a bit of an indie flick sometimes. I think that this one had like, it was very colourful, very vibrant. I don't know. I like that. It's weird that
you think that this is like your version of an indie movie.
No,
my version of an indie movie is like, let's do a really popular one, but like Lady Bird.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I think this is the streaming version of an indie film. Like, I don't think pre-streaming that movie probably would have been made. I just don't think it would have. I think it's probably a little bit too niche, and especially for, or if it was, it would be something you would go see at a Cinema Nova or an independent cinema rather than showing at a Hoyts or a Village. But because of streaming, these films have just sort of turned into just feeling like a Netflix movie or whatever. But a lot of the time, it's what would have been an indie film.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm just assuming because it has such big actors in it, like comedians like Andy Samberg, that I just don't put any movie that he's in into an indie film category.
That's interesting. I don't consider him that. I think he is an indie actor, sort of like, I don't know. I think that there's a certain tier of actor, especially like you look at Andy Samberg, he's the lead in a TV sitcom. Like I sometimes feel like they still get bracketed off a little bit. So has he like led a film, like a massive blockbuster film? I don't think so. Not off the top of my head. And I don't really remember when Hot Rod came out, but I don't remember it being some big box office release.
No.
So yeah, I don't know. I just thought this was a little bit of an indie film, and especially the amount of TV stars that were in it.
Okay, maybe I just didn't notice that. Let me look up the cast.
I can tell you. I've got it here.
Okay.
So you've got him. You've got obviously that Kristen girl, who's, I think the most famous role she had was How I Met Your Mother. Let me confirm that. Apparently she was in Wolf of Wall Street. I don't remember that. She might have been his girlfriend at one point.
Yeah.
But this is in her top 4 on IMDb. So I don't know.
Damn. It has taken off though. Like the reason why I wanted to watch it was because I just saw it posted everywhere online. Like there were articles being like, you have to go and watch this new Hulu movie because it was Hulu. I don't have that in Australia. And yeah, it was just like perfect timing that they released a movie like this because everyone's got nothing to do. And so it's just taken off.
Well, you know what I hated about it? And it's really dumb. And I know it's dumb, but I found myself, this is what happens when you watch a movie with a bit of heart late at night. This is my opinion. You end up overanalyzing something. And I'm sitting there watching this movie, which is based on getting stuck in a repeat day. You're in a time loop. Gigi, we're living in a world where we're not able to do anything. So all I thought last night was, imagine if I got stuck in tomorrow, which, you know, I mean, we'd be doing this podcast a lot, but we all have so many days at the moment when we're not doing anything.
Yeah. It was actually perfect timing that they would release something like this.
I thought it was weird. I couldn't help but think about it. What else have you been watching? Anything?
Okay.
Oh.
If you want to talk about indie,
give me it.
I got binge, but I only got it because I wanted to rewatch the show Euphoria. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Georgia watched it. Did you say Zendaya? Is that who's in it?
Yeah.
Isn't it like...
It's like pretty R-rated, I'd say. It's got a lot of like sex and drugs and stuff.
Well, Euphoria, the name sort of gives away, all right, we're dipping into drugs here. We're going to be going deep into the drug world. And I remember watching a trailer for it, and it looked a bit chaotic for me in terms of it looked very... they were obviously living up to the name of the show. It looked like you're on an acid trip while you're watching the trailer. Like a lot of purples, blues, like very moody lighting.
Makeup and like sparkles everywhere. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
So you loved it. Okay. How many episodes is it?
Only 8.
Can you tell me what the hell it's about though? Because I actually feel like, is it about Zendaya's character going through like high school and just being...
Yeah, so she's the main character. She's in high school, and the catch is she's like a drug addict. So she had an overdose on opiates or something like that. I don't know. I'm not very cultured in drugs, but yeah, she has an overdose, and then she goes back to school She goes back to school, and it's just like the trials and tribulations of high school, but it's more of like a modern day thing. Like people are vaping instead of smoking, and they have like the parties with the drugs, and there's a transgender woman as one of the main characters, and she moves to that high school and then becomes best friends with Zendaya's character. And yeah, it's just good. It's like a coming of age kind of TV show, but it's a lot more like you don't watch it and you're kind of cringing because of the references they make, and they're trying to be like too hip and using like LOL and stuff like that. It's like you can tell that the writers, I don't know, like they must
Is it almost a bit more? Is it almost a bit more gritty in terms of like you look at? There's so many coming of age shows out there at the moment. As I said before, you've got Riverdale, you've got like Sabrina, you've got there's that other one which was the one Never Have I Ever, I think it was called. I don't know if you got it.
Yeah.
They're coming of age high school dramedies, I guess, where they're all sort of a bit light and a bit fluffy, and they sort of don't show you the real dark side to things. They want to keep it light, whereas this seems like it's willing to dive into the darkness a little bit.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, it kind of makes me think like, oh, I had like a very boring high school experience, I guess.
It makes you question your own high school life. That's no good.
No, I'm like, wow, I really just like came home and did my homework and didn't go to parties. Nah, it's good. I like it because in the 8 episodes, they're also planning on filming. They were going to film season 2. I think they already started it, but they had to stop because of Corona, obviously. But in the first 8 episodes of the first season, they go into each different character and like, you know, like the jock guy and his relationship with his dad, and the really pretty preppy girl and her like abusive relationship and stuff. It's really interesting. I just like it because it's real but it's not like Never Have I Ever. When I watch that, I'm like, okay, this is like lighthearted, tweeny kind of, but like Euphoria is a whole different category.
This brings up something interesting I want to pick your brain about. So you've gone and got Binge, the streaming service, so you can rewatch this.
Yeah.
How long ago did you watch it? This is a pretty new show.
I remember I was in Queensland, and it's a Foxtel show, like HBO. And I saw an ad for it, and I wrote it down in my phone because I wanted to go home and watch it. That was probably a year ago. And then I rewatched it only like a few weeks ago.
So tell me, the whole idea of rewatching something I find very interesting because I feel like you do it. You like rewatching things?
Yeah.
Is it that feeling of like it's like a warm blanket? Like you put it on and you're happy just to sink into it, and you're like, now I feel it's like a little safe space.
It's like, I don't know, when something satisfies me, like a good show like that, I know I'm not going to be, because when I start something new, I have that like limbo period at the start where I'm just like, maybe I'll watch like 20 minutes, and if I don't like it, then I'll just stop. And also, I don't really like watching shows, like when people hype up shows too much, I feel intimidated to start watching it, because like I never watched Tiger King because I didn't want to, like, there was so much online, and I knew that if I, like, the only reason I was going to watch it was so I knew the references and everything. But it got to a point where there was so much talk about it online that I kind of I already knew what happened in the show. Like, I could just assume that Carol Baskin killed her husband, apparently.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
So your issue with your issue with watching something is disappointment. So therefore, you would prefer to make your own decisions and then maybe even fall into the things you've watched and liked just so you're never disappointed?
Yep. Don't out me like that, Daniel.
I made it seem so basic, but it kind of is. It kind of is. But tell me, I've always felt a comfort show that you go back and you rewatch should be kind of light and fluffy. But you sound more like my dad. My dad will go and put on The Sopranos and be like, I'm going to have a Sunday nap. I'm going to doze off to The Sopranos. I'm like, what do you mean? It's the most intense show ever. You're off watching Euphoria.
I also, one of my all-time favorite shows is American Horror Story, because, yeah. But I don't really like the last couple of seasons because they got a bit too political. But I could rewatch the first like 5 seasons over and over again, and I would be happy. Like they're just such like well-made shows. I can sit there and I appreciate, and I go, "Ooh, this is going to happen in the next episode." I'm so excited to rewatch that. Like, I just love it.
Okay, you must be a horror movie fan, yeah?
I can sit through them. Like I enjoy them.
You can sit through them, but you put on American Horror Story just to unwind. I haven't watched much American Horror Story, but I definitely watched the Asylum season.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Unreal, and also not overly relaxing, Gigi.
Yeah, but it's just good. Like I don't want to be sitting there bored. If I wanted to do that, I'd just sit and watch Parks and Rec or something.
Okay, so there can be Parks and Rec, so there can be a light, fluffy side to your...
Oh, yeah. Okay. Mind you, I've only watched about like 4 seasons of The Office.
What?
Yeah.
What happened there?
It was disappointing.
You are a little bit. I mean...
It's not that I didn't like it. Like, I watched it straight for like 3 weeks, and then I just forgot to keep on watching it.
You forgot.
Been contemplating going back and watching it. I guess I have so much time now that I should.
You forgot to go and finish arguably the best TV sitcom in the last 20 years. What happened? Come on, Gigi. I need more from you than that. We're in isolation for at least another 5 weeks. You're going to at least finish the Michael Scott seasons of The Office for me.
Wait, he leaves?
Oh my God. What is happening? You don't know that? Ah.
Leaves.
Yes, and it's TV history when he does. Can you go and this podcast? You know what's happened here, Gigi? You know what's happened? You smashed your mirror, and it's just been chaos since then. We've had internet issues. We've had bloody communication issues. We've had bloody friendship challenging moments here.
Apparently.
I am fascinated though by your binge. Well, by your rewatching. Your rewatching is just an interesting thing. But do you find that you'll always do you have a movie that would come into your category of a comfort rewatch, or is it normally a short, sharp TV episode that you'd prefer to stick to?
I swear I do. A movie.
I reckon I've got a couple, but I reckon they're all, for the most part, a comedy. I need to be light. I don't like to be dark and gloomy, but yours is probably like, American History X or something. I don't know, something really grim.
Favorite movie? Or like movie I could rewatch?
Well, that's an interesting question. Here, let me hit you with this, because this might help your thought process. If somebody says to you, what's your favorite movie ever, right? And this is a good question for you because you're a media student, and as was I. So let's see where our mind goes to. Does it go to a movie you would honestly sit down and rewatch at any point in the year, or would you refer to an Oscar winner, an all-time classic?
Actually, I'd probably say like The Great Gatsby or something, because I could rewatch that 1,000 times.
And that's not considered a great film of all time.
Is it not? I feel like it's a pretty good film.
It's a fine movie. But what I'm saying is a lot of people get stuck in I've got to say something really profound. I've got to say something impressive. I've got to seem cultured. Like how I led this with, have you watched Hamilton? Like, you're like, oh God, he's a musical.
I mean,
no.
when I said no, you could have just assumed how this podcast was going to go.
No. It's probably true.
Yeah, I love like Good Will Hunting. Is that a...
Yeah, see, that's something where if somebody said that and you were talking to a fellow media student or, a film scholar, they'd be like, you're an intellect. I will continue having a conversation about film with you.
What is your go-to? What's a movie you could rewatch all the time?
Probably The Dark Knight. And you know what? It's a cop-out. And I'm very lucky because I'm a comic book fan, so it's nerdy and it's not considered good movie. Like, comic book movies aren't considered great films. That one happened to win an Oscar. So, that just happens to be considered the best of the best in terms of comic book movies. And I'm a big Batman guy. So, I've lucked out there where I'm able to cover all bases. But it is rare because, let's be honest, look at what's considered... Oh, here's one that people say all the time is their favorite movie. God, I need to remember what it's called. What's the prison movie? Oh, Shawshank Redemption. You've never seen it. You're a media student.
I know. This goes back to, okay, listen up. This goes back to, it goes back to a movie or a TV show being really hyped up to a point where I don't want to watch it. And it's not a pretentious thing. It's just like I'm intimidated, like I just can't be bothered watching it.
No, I get it. I haven't watched Lord of the Rings for the same reason, and I'm in the middle of forcing myself to do it. I hadn't watched Game of Thrones for the same reason. There's too much hype. But is it literally just that you don't want to be disappointed when you do come to watch it? Or you just think, because you've heard so much, you're like, there's no way I'm going to think it's as good as everyone else, so what's the point?
Yeah. I watched what did I watch? Like the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, and I enjoyed it, but it was just, I think maybe this comes back to the thing with The Office. There's just so many seasons and it's such a classic thing that I'm like, I have the rest of my life to finish it.
Yeah, I
know about it. Like everyone's seen it, but nobody's talking about it right now. Like I don't have to finish it.
It's almost better. I said this about Game of Thrones. I think I said it to Justin once. I said, look, I will watch Game of Thrones maybe after 5 years has passed since the last episode, because I did that with The Sopranos. I went back, and by then, because I'd never seen it and no one was talking about it anymore, I mean, I'm always going to remember the Red Wedding. Like, I feel like I could tell you what happened in that episode. But that was because it was so viral. Now, besides that, I couldn't tell you much else from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So,
honestly, it's been like maybe 2 years since I last watched it, and I know that there's a character called Jon Snow.
Hang on, you watched it though, so you don't remember any other characters?
I know the Daenerys, or the blonde chick, Emilia Clarke. There you go, there's an actor's name.
You know her by her name, but not her most famous role. Interesting.
Yeah.
But well, I watched the first Game of Thrones episode on the podcast with Liam and Justin, and I watched it and I actually liked it. Like I was like, okay, I get the hype. This is good. But there's just something about that time period where I struggle to get invested. Anything Viking, anything like Middle Earth. Yeah. It doesn't do heaps for me. You know what sort of enticed me with The Hobbit though, and going into The Lord of the Rings, is the fantasy. I know Game of Thrones is fantasy, but mixed with the fantasy is, it keeps coming back to being the same thing for me. The really nice scenery, the bright, colourful, vibrant, scenes and that helps me. Whereas Game of Thrones seems very doom and gloom.
See, like, this is so random. I used to watch my brother play like Skyrim all the time when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to just sit next to him and watch him play it. And like I didn't even want to play it myself, but I just liked like the scene, like the way it looked, and like it was so relaxing and calming. And I think that's maybe why I can put up with Game of Thrones, even though it's not very mythical.
I get what you mean by that though. There is something about being just sucked into a world by just liking the setting of it. You're like, I like where this is. I want to be there.
Yeah, I actually got
Here we go.
I've got a Switch, and I got it during isolation, obviously, to keep myself busy. And I got Zelda, which, like, I feel like the biggest nerd. No offense to anyone that plays it, but it's such like a pretty looking game. And I started playing it last night, and I was just like standing on top of this tower thing, just like looking around at the grass and the birds. And I was like, this is why people play this. It's really relaxing. Like, it takes you to a whole different world, and you can just like get some apples off some trees.
I'm not sure you're playing Zelda correctly, but I mean
it's correct in my eyes.
You seem like you would enjoy maybe Sims or something, where it's just sort of it's just basic everyday life.
No. See, I like this because it's like open world.
You like to explore.
Process for a little bit because it was just like relaxing, but then it got to a point where everyone online was showing their islands and they looked so incredible. Like it didn't even look like we had the same game. And and it got to a point where because of that pressure, oh my God, I just realized I just can't deal with pressure.
You can't deal with the
online community playing it made me not want to play it anymore.
You can't deal with the pressure of being the only one to not be part of it. Like you don't want to. There's a lot of pressure with, hey, come on, come join, and then you go to join. You're like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. Am I wrong? Is there something wrong with me? You don't want to face the question of, is there something wrong with me? There we go. We've cracked Gigi.
Yeah.
Tell me though, are you enjoying gaming? Because you seem like you've gone and bought a Switch, and that's out of the norm for you. You've thrown caution to the wind and bought Zelda of all games. Why Zelda?
Because if you take a look at any, go to JB and look at the Switch games, and there's not a whole heap for a little 20-year-old white girl. I'm just gonna say that now. Yeah. The most was Animal Crossings. Like every girl plays Animal Crossings, but it just got so like it got a bit mundane. Like I'd request, a bridge to be built, and then I'd think, oh, I have to wake up the next morning and go check that my bridge was built.
Hang on. Can you explain to me Animal Crossing? Because that seemed to have been a real thing at one point. You're talking about it, but I know zero about it. What the hell what was the point of that game?
So it's think of the calm nature of when you would play Pokemon and you just kind of walk around and go into the house and go into the bushes and stuff like that. Think of that, but without any threats to you. You're not fighting against anyone, nothing. Instead, you just have tasks that you have to do. So you get given this island and you get a bunch of little islanders that you have to build their homes, and you have to collect, catch fish and catch different wildlife and insects and stuff for your museum to make this beautiful big museum. And there's honestly no plot to the game, but you just do it for your own relaxation. And you build a nice little island and you collect grass and wood, and it's fun.
And do you do it with other people? Is it something you can play online?
Yeah. So you can go visit other people's islands. Take their flowers and stuff.
So you can take a holiday in the game. You
And you have to earn your points to get a ticket. You don't get nothing for nothing in the game.
That is hilarious. I'd heard people talking about it. I'd actually had people say to me, you need to talk about Animal Crossing on the podcast. But I think I might have looked up a little bit of gameplay of it. It looks very basic in terms of its...
Oh, yeah.
It's
but
very
that's why
basic.
People love it. Anyone can play it. It was the first game that I got.
Okay.
So I got that on Mario Kart Odyssey.
Yeah, see, isn't it funny? So I think for people that aren't big gamers, I'm not at all. Sometimes it's the simpler games that feel like games of maybe your childhood when you would play a computer game that seem a bit more attainable and a bit more achievable to actually play.
Well, that was the thing. That's why I was scared to get Zelda. I just hate, I'm not this person. I was scared to get it because I was watching gameplay and I was I don't really want to be slaying dragons and stuff like that. That is not me.
Oh my God.
All the comments were just people with their anime, on the YouTube video, all the comments were people with their little anime icons. And you could just tell that they lived and breathed these type of games. And I was I just want a fun, new, exciting game. But everyone was saying it's open world, which was something new that they hadn't done in the past couple of games. And they were saying I was contemplating getting it because I just didn't think it was going to be my type of game. And then I ended up playing it for 5 hours straight the first time I got it. So I was okay, I'll try it out. I have nothing else to do. It's fun. It is fun.
Yeah.
Very mythical, cringe, but it's fun.
And that's what's important, but I definitely get what you mean. I think I get turned off by gaming a lot of the time. Like, I've got friends that will play 2K, all right? They'll play each other in 2K online, or even Call of Duty. Now, let's go with Call of Duty, because I think it fits your point a lot better. It's the competitive nature of it and the win at all costs. I'm not willing to win at all costs. Like, I'm not willing to sit here for 30 hours to get good at something, to then be able to go and challenge you all and actually win and be able to go, ha, beat ya. Like, you kill me in Call of Duty, I'm just going to go, well, this isn't very fun because I never win. So there needs to be some reward for my effort.
It's like when, like, everyone used to play Fortnite, and it's like, I get it. It's you get a bit of gratification when you win, but it's just, I don't know, it'd be so boring to me. Like, I don't like having to, like, stress when I'm playing things. Like, every time that, like, this is another thing, back to my brother, but when I was a kid and he'd leave me, he'd go to have a shower and he'd leave me on, like, Call of Duty Zombies. And I'd be like, oh my God, like, I would out, because I don't like having to, like, I don't have the skills. And that's why, like, the Switch is so good for me, because all of the games on it are just like, you're by yourself. You don't have to attack anything besides Zelda. I get really anxious when I have to compete for things. Like, I can't do online gaming.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, a relaxing thing. It's just kind of weird for me.
I know what you mean as well about the sort of responsibility you feel if you're part of a game with somebody else that's maybe quite good at it. So, like, I've been going back and playing Crash Bandicoot at the moment, and we were sitting there, 3 other people, and we all grew up with Crash Bandicoot, and we're all taking in turns, because in that game you get lives. And so every time you die, you lose a life, and then game over if you run out of lives. Pretty basic premise. But every time you die, we'd take it in turns. So the moments where you're on 0 lives, and if you lose, you stuff it for everyone. Similar to what you're saying about your brother being like, keep me alive during bloody Call of Duty while I go have a shower. It's like, there's too much responsibility. I can't do that.
Yeah, I completely get that. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, heaps. So do you think you'll get any other games? It seems like maybe you're enjoying the Switch. You're just trying to feel out what the game route is for you.
Yeah, like I said before, you walk into JB and you have a look at the game section, and it's not too great for someone like me. And that's why I'm trying to get into these games, because the Switch is expensive and I'm going to use it.
That's
but
right.
yeah, I don't really know what else. Because Odyssey is pretty fun. Like, and the thing is, when you buy these games nowadays, they come with, like, such a massive map, or, like, a really extensive storyline that it takes a while to get through. And so it kind of makes you feel guilty if you go out and buy another game and you're just kind of leaving this other game behind that you've only played for maybe 3 hours with. But yeah.
One of my biggest issues is the fact that once I start something, I have to finish it. And it's like that with a movie. Like, those people that pause a movie and they're like, I'll finish the rest tomorrow night. What?
Okay.
You're one of those people. Oh my God.
No.
I am reassessing our friendship. Just quietly between us. So just think carefully before we move forward.
We all consume media differently. And as a media student, you should know that, for a past media student. No, I'm not that bad. Like, I won't leave it a day at a time, but I'll start it at like 3 p.m. if I'm watching a movie. And then I might get bored and scroll through my phone. Like, I don't like scrolling through my phone whilst the movie or TV show is still playing. I have to pause it. But I have a short attention span. So sometimes I do just scroll through my phone. And then it'll be like, oh, it's dinner time. And then I'll go eat dinner, go, have a shower, whatever. And then I'll come back at like 9 o'clock and finish it. Unless it's a really good movie and I'm just so, like, trapped in it. And I never do it with other people. Like, I'm not someone that constantly pauses things when I'm watching a movie with other people. Like, I just do it on my own. That's my own thing.
Are you a talker when you watch them with other people? Gigi, I might not speak to you again if you happen to also, on top of everything we've discussed today, be a talker during movies. Are you kidding me?
No. Well, I think I've just learned from like going and watching a movie like in the cinema that's annoying as fuck.
You've learned what's socially acceptable.
Yeah.
But don't you kind of think that like this whole streaming thing has made it a lot easier to become, you know what? I'll continue watching this later in my continue watching bar, or, you know, it's only, we're just at home watching this. Like I can chat to you because like there's no one else around. It's made it easier to slip into these bad habits.
I do that a lot. Like when it's just at home, I feel like I'm not interrupting anyone, but at the same time I'm interrupting the other person. So, but like, yeah, I sit there and I'm like, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything. Sometimes I just like to and this goes back to like, I'm really bad at piecing together characters in characters' names and stuff. So usually it's just me asking the dumbest questions, being like, oh wait, is that like his mum? Just over and over. Like, oh, is that the girl that's called Ali? Like, but not all the time. That's me at my worst.
I didn't realize that this podcast would act as an intervention for you as well. Gigi, there's a few things we need to walk away from today knowing for sure. One, you probably need to reassess your rewatch binge situation. It's a bit grim. It's a bit dark and it probably reflects negatively.
Just a note, you're saying that you never just go back and watch something just for, you know, to reminisce a little bit.
Yes, but I'm saying usually when I do that, it's something fun and a bit, you know, upbeat to surround myself with. A warm blanket isn't serial killers and people in a mental asylum.
Liking American Horror Story, okay? The characters are good. The storylines are always good. It's a different storyline every season, so it's nothing to get bored of. It's good. Like, stop for judging me.
No judgment, of course. Secondly, you need to stop talking to people while they're trying to watch something. Don't be a talker in a TV show or movie. That's not cool. All right? Thirdly, can you finish the US Office? What the hell's going on there?
Yeah, I agree.
I saw that moment of, oh, this really is building up a little bit here. But I've got to
watch other things that I want to watch, you know?
I get that, but, you know.
I always go back and watch The Office. How many seasons are there?
There's 9 seasons of The Office.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that. I won't say anything else.
Oh, okay. So there's all the seasons afterwards that don't have Michael Scott.
Yeah, and feel free to, you know, watch it up until when he leaves, and then you can stop. But I need you to have at least watched that.
Who replaces him?
Wow. Isn't that a fun question?
I'm just going to have to go watch.
You'll have to find out for yourself, Gigi. And lastly, if anyone's listened to this and they've gone, I know a good Switch game that Gigi sounds like she might enjoy, inbox the podcast and I'll pass it on to her because she's a 20-year-old girl that feels like there's not much out there on a Switch device for her, and I can't help but think she's probably right. So, what did we like? We like Animal Crossing, and we're in Zelda and we're enjoying the scenery in Zelda a little bit.
It's so pretty. Like the sun. Oh, it's so nice.
So we're looking for pretty games or basic everyday life games where you can take a holiday within your game to go and see your friends. Pretty much Animal Crossing there. Gigi, thanks for coming on the podcast. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
There you go, episode 35. Done and dusted. Another week, another episode. Eh? Punching them out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining the show as always. Don't forget you can do all those things that I like you to do, which is, you know, like, subscribe, review the podcast on all of your podcast apps. You've got your iTunes, your Apple Podcasts, I should say, your Spotify, your Stitcher, YouTube, you know, and there's probably on a range of other podcast platforms that I'm just maybe not even aware of that it gets sent to. So, you know, maybe if it is, maybe if you listen to it on something else, let me know. That'd be a bit of fun, bit of information. Anyway, guys, that's it from me. Have a good week. Enjoy yourself, treat yourself, whatever you find yourself doing. Don't work too hard out there. Talk to you next week.
This has been a Cheeky Leprechaun production.